We welcome in Chris Raybon and Stuckey for Mixing a Water. You guys are nice enough to tweet out, what's your dumbest bet? What are you saying that makes you a little squeamish? Maybe that bet that you kind of want to take, but you're not sure. And we're going to tell you, or these guys are going to tell you if they need to mix in a water. Let's start with the Chicago Bears on the money line. They're getting 3 points at Green Bay. They're trying to play spoiler there. Green Bay owns tiebreakers over Seattle and New Orleans. So essentially winning in for Green Bay. Stuckey, Bears on the money line. Can they play spoiler?
Sure. I mean, yeah, this is a 3-point underdog. You don't need to mix in a water for betting this. I was thinking about betting the Bears, but I thought we would get a little better number. Usually these teams that need to win versus teams that are eliminated, they perform historically very poorly in week 18. They have to play tighter. The team trying to play spoiler can play looser, usually get an inflated number. But, Bears have been surging of late. They've won, I think, 4 or 5. I think they're kind of near the top of the market. And I don't really think there's a ton of value here, but sure, the Bears could absolutely play spoiler. Their defense is playing a lot better. Stevenson and Johnson at corner. They added Sweat and, Fields playing for his job. And this is a team, look, it's their division rival. This is now their Super Bowl. They want to end their season. Although I would suggest maybe it's better for the Bears if they don't win this game. You don't guarantee a 4th place schedule, even better draft pick, even though you already have the 1. But yeah, the Bears could absolutely win this game. But I will say a couple things to watch here. Who's going to be healthy for the Packers at wide receiver? Right. Although it hasn't seemed to matter. Jordan Love, since week 12, highest graded passer in the NFL. Since November 1st, really, he's been on an absolute tear. I think 24 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 106 passer rating. So he's been rolling of late. I actually think the Packers are going to win this game, but I don't hate it. Whenever you want to take a shot on these eliminated teams, especially if this is only a 3-point underdog, go right ahead for it. Week 18 always gets super weird. We'll see if the Bears can finally beat the Packers too. They've lost a couple streaks on the line this week. Patriots have beat the Jets 15 times in a row. I think the Packers have beat the Bears 9 times in a row and 24 out of the last 27.
My goodness. Raybon, Stuckey mentioned the market's got a little sharper here on these must-win games. Obviously, you two have been doing this for a long time. Do you share a similar sentiment in that, maybe, I don't know, hoping to get a bigger number here? Does this person need to mix in a water with the Chicago Bears?
Yeah, line's about right, but no, they don't need to mix in a water. I mean, if the Packers with Aaron Rodgers can lose a win in your in game, they can surely do it with Love. Love is playing well, but as Stuckey said, division game. I think the Bears, with their defense playing well and with Justin Fields back, the Bears really aren't rated, at least in my power ratings, that much lower than the Packers, which is why you're seeing, this line kind of stuck at 3 here. So these are 2 fairly evenly matched teams. I know it didn't start out that way this season, but no, you don't need to mix in a water at all. I still lean Packers winning. Like Stuck, I think Love is playing well. I think they're doing well with, their depth at wide receiver, regardless of who's playing. They seem to be balling. Aaron Jones is giving them a lift in the run game. But that Joe Barry defense at any given time could just strike. And, they did give up 30 to the Panthers. And I think that's what you're kind of hanging your hat on if you're betting Bears money line is, okay, this Packers defense, inconsistent, never really plays up to the talent level and has kind of been playing over its head with some of the guys in the secondary, really. So yeah, I think that's how you're going to get a Bears victory, is if that Packer defense lets them down.
Yeah. And right about your point, if you over past 10 games or so, there's some bad defenses in the NFL right now, Arizona, Washington, the Packers, by some metrics, have been the worst defense in the NFL. If you remove 2 games, they played Brett Rippon and the Rams. And then, last week they played Jaron Hall and the Vikings, and, he was lost. So basically you were down to, bad backups and one just really inexperienced one. So if you remove those 2 games at home against backup quarterbacks, then the Packers defense has just been on a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm. And the Bears haven't really played anybody either. I would argue back with that, but you could have got 3.5 earlier in the week. Let's go to this next one from Titus. He's got a money line parlay featuring a couple of teams in the NFC East. These two teams, the Commanders and the Giants, trying to cause a popsicle headache as it pertains to who wins the NFC East. And those two teams being Dallas and Philadelphia. Dallas right now is your 2 seed entering week 18 in the NFC. Philadelphia, your 5 seed. There's a scenario here for Dallas to get the 2 seed. They just have to win. They just have to beat the Commanders and they're fine. But if they don't win and the Commanders play upset, then that opens the door, Stuckey, for Philadelphia to possibly jump back up in the mix. The Lions are still in it. They need a lot to happen. The Lions need this to hit for Titus to get this rolling here. Does this Titus fella need to mix in a water with this NFC East basement money line parlay?
I would say no. I think both lines are inflated. So, and look, these are division rivals. These are two teams that will be playing their Super Bowls. I would say, you have to at least take a couple sips just for Washington. At first, I don't know who the quarterback's going to be, and Sam Howell's been lost of late. With Jacoby Brissett, I think you have a little better chance here. And the Cowboys just haven't been the same team on the road. And for what it's worth, last year, with a chance to win the division, they went up to Washington in week 18. Now, granted, they needed the Eagles to lose, so maybe they, I think the Eagles were also playing the Giants too. I think that maybe they were scoreboard watching or kind of knew that they didn't really have a chance, but they lost 26-6. Dak looked horrendous in that game. So we'll see if they actually learn from that, come out more focused here. I actually would prefer, if you're going to parlay them, I think that the Cowboys line is a bit overinflated, especially if Brissett goes. But if you're going to parlay these two games, I would parlay Dallas and the Giants. And, sometimes you can use these sequencing of what happens on this weekend to your advantage, because number one, the Eagles, I haven't checked for an update today, but Sirianni hinted at potentially sitting his starters. They know that the Cowboys are 2 touchdown favorites. You're in bad weather on a horrendous turf with major injury risk. So he could end up sitting some starters. They're also just a mess right now. But if the Cowboys are rolling and they're up big, then there's really no reason to risk injury with Hurts and some other guys on that surface, that treacherous surface. So then they might end up pulling guys even if they do play their starters. So you kind of have some correlation there between those two results. So I do think both lines are a little bit inflated, but there's not really, tying them together, but there's no real meaning there. But if you wanted to tie together Dallas and the Giants, I think there's some correlation you can work to your advantage.
Cowboys laying 13.5, Raybon. Philadelphia laying 5.5. So to Stuckey's idea, if you play the Cowboys on the money line and the Giants on the money line, you get plus 230. And if you go with Titus's idea, Commanders and Giants, to pay out of plus about 19-1. So where are you at on this? A couple sips was Stuckey's advice. How about you? Mixing a water for this idea?
Nah, I wouldn't say mixing a water here, because Stuckey hinted at it. This Cowboy team last year went to Washington and completely laid an egg. And, they have to prove that they can get up for a game like this when, it matters, but it doesn't matter. Like, they're still going to be in the playoffs, obviously. They would love to get, an extra home game. But, the way they played against this Washington team last year has to give you pause, because Dak went 14-37 passing. That's absurd for any quarterback in the modern era. And 14-37 for 128 yards. And then they ran the ball 27 times for 64 yards. Like, this team could do absolutely nothing against a terrible Washington team last year when it needed to win. So I think the best play is probably Giants money line and then Commanders spread, if you want to do it that way. Like, I think just taking the Commander money line, if you think, Dallas is going to lay another egg, like, I don't think you need to parlay it. I think you just want to get that value individually. And maybe you if you're trying to increase your payout, then maybe you combine it. But if you like Washington, and I think that it's fair to say, hey, like, make this Cowboy team prove it. Like, the Washington money line is juicy enough as is. Like, you don't really need to parlay it because, like Stuckey said, the two dogs winning aren't really correlated. They're just kind of, in the same division and kind of interesting. But I think definitely the Cowboys give me pause. So I wouldn't be confident in their money line. So don't mix in the water, but don't just parlay them and not bet them individually if you're going to go that route.
Okay. Commanders spread, Giants money line payout is about plus 450. So
there you go. And also, just it's got like a college football feel to it. Like, don't stub your toe to a rival, and also like these teams got to be feeling good about themselves going into the playoffs. It'd be nice for them to end the season on a positive note heading into the postseason. All right. We got this one here from Jimbo Do the Limbo. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers money line, they're 5-point favorites over Carolina, and also Indianapolis +7 in a parlay here. But hold on. The scenario here is to then use those profits and roll them over for live betting the Bills on the money line when Josh Allen inevitably turns the ball over. All this correlation we're talking about, not really sure how NFC correlates with the Buffalo Bills here, but I guess we'll start off here. Stuckey, Bucks money line, Indy +7. That line, Indy and Houston has done quite a bit of hopscotch over the last couple of days, -1, +1, back and forth. Mix in a water for this fellow Jimbo. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Needs to sober up here. But we're buying points to 7, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, and I actually like the Panthers. Panthers fit that classic role of the team that's eliminated, playing a team that's either win and get in or go home. They're playing their division rival. It's been a just joyless year for the Panthers. Now this is their Super Bowl at home. They have covered 3 straight at home. The Bucks have been one of the luckiest teams in the NFL. Shout out to Nick Giffen, Sean Kerner and company. I think on our updated luck rankings, Panthers are dead last, and the Bucks are in the top 5. Baker Mayfield's had a good year, but we saw him crash back down to earth. A lot of advanced metrics suggest he has even more crashing to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a few key mistakes here against the now healthy Carolina secondary. And this is a pretty good matchup for the Panthers. They have the worst run defense in the NFL. Bucks have a wildly inefficient run game. So that gives them a chance here. This line's, I think these two teams met earlier this month, and the line closed 3.5 in Tampa, and Tampa won by 3.
That's when it poured out. It was pouring rain in Tampa.
Yeah. So this line is inflated given the situation. So I like Carolina. I think the NFC South's going to get weird. I think Carolina actually pulls off the upset. So no, yeah, mix in a water. This is ridiculous.
It's my bad. I'm muted over here. You don't have to convince me of getting a little crazy with betting the Carolina Panthers. It's like the most, I keep going back to it everywhere. It's like the most disgusting fun thing. They're one of those teams that you can't quit them every single week. Raybon, you've been on the Panthers a little bit this season, especially late. What say you about this?
Yeah, this is mixing in water. Number one, because the parlay just makes no sense. Like Bucks money line, Indy +7, like what do those two things have to do with each other? Second of all, Stuckey laid out, I guess the only case, well, let's go bet by bet. I guess the only case for betting the Bucks money line would be these teams that need to win going against teams that have nothing to play for. They don't cover often. So I get if you're thinking, hey, maybe the Bucks pull it out, but it's not, they're not going to win by margin, but you're playing with fire there because you're talking about, a few points, 5 points. That could easily just more likely than not, if they don't cover, they're probably losing. So don't like that one. And then Indy +7, don't like that one either. If you like Indy, just take Indy. I mean, like, why are we buying 7 when this Indy team, 5 of its 7 losses are by, more than that. And this Indy team, when they lose, like they could lose big to anyone. I mean, they got beat by 19 by the Falcons. They got beat by 11 by what was it? The Saints and Derek Carr. So this
or just go tease it, right, Raybon? If you're buying up to 7, go tease it somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what you're doing, but like I don't like teasing it either because you're going from.
Yeah, you're not getting over 7. If this line gets to 1.5, and then there's some other good teaser options out there that are with lines that are 2.5. then you can consider doing this. But yeah, buying it to 7 and combining with the Bucks money line. No. Just don't.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense individually or correlated. And like in the last 4 weeks, the Colts have lost by 20 to Jake Browning and 19 to Desmond Ridder. So
when it rains,
Heineke. Sorry, Heineke. So like, yeah, this team now they got to go up against CJ Stroud. Like, you know, if Houston wins, it's very possible Houston wins by margin. Bucks, you know, I think the Panthers are the right side on that one. So yeah, mixing the water.
Jimbo just wants to stitch together a full 24 hours. Saturday night game, then the Bucks and the Panthers, and then he wants something to work with for the Bills-Dolphins game on Sunday night. That's what that feels like to me.
Just keep
All right,
rolling
fellas.
over the profits every day until you're out of money.
Yeah, you know, a proposition like that too. Our last mix in the water of happy hour. We've been here 18 weeks, and this is what we're coming up with. I mean, has anyone learned a damn thing on this show?
Bills futures. Hopefully people learn to grab those.
Yep.
Yes, sir.
It's true. All right,
Although
Chris Raybon.
They could be in the trash by the end of the weekend. Hopefully not. Fingers crossed.
Wouldn't want it any other way, though. You know, wouldn't want it any other way.